I decided I want to make a eulogy video for Petals the bear. I know I'm a little late. He's been dead for 2 years, but I just heard about it. I'm not a big social media person and I can't stand watching the news. So I just heard about it. I was on a long drive and I was listening to NPR and there was a show called Breaking Bear or something like that, and they talked about Petals and they talked about the fact that he had been shot in the New Jersey bear hunt, and I was shocked. I first heard about Petals when a friend posted a video of him to Facebook. I was going through a really painful period at the time in my life, and seeing this bear who had overcome so much pain and who had lost what he needed most in this world to live, which was his 2 front paws. One was gone, one was paralyzed. Bears need them to dig. Bears need them to find grubs. They need them to climb trees. They need them to groom themselves. They need them for defense. And he had nothing. And he couldn't walk. And somehow he taught himself to live and get by and find food. And I found so much inspiration in him. I think probably a lot of people did. The other thing that Petals did was, in most human cultures, we tend to draw a really distinct line between humans and animals. I think we're kind of weird in the United States because we're willing to say that dogs have feelings and thoughts. Maybe even cats have feelings and thoughts. But we won't allow that other animals have feelings and thoughts, because if we did, we'd have trouble with our meat industry and the factory farms that we have. But Petals, walking around, you could just see he looked like a guy in a bear suit, and he kind of was. It was just a real bear suit. He was just a guy looking around for things to eat, not wanting to cause any harm. We also have a weird relationship with wild animals just because they do have a mind of their own and they do have power to strike out if they want to. We kind of classify them as, ooh, wild animals, you know. And, yeah, just like there are some people who make trouble and some people who don't. You can't judge everyone. Petals showed he was a peaceful bear. I didn't think that he should be put in a sanctuary. I thought that we should respect the life that he had made for himself. But when I heard that he had been killed, I also heard about the New Jersey bear hunt, and I saw the good people who are protesting it. And my heart just breaks to think that it is so tragic that Petals was killed, and it is so blatantly unfair that a defenseless, handicapped bear would be shot in his heart. I saw a picture of him with his little white blaze and the blood, and he was standing up looking at who was coming to him, exactly as he does in the videos when someone just shot him and killed him. And how can this be okay? If we can see that it's not okay for Petals, how can it be okay for the hundreds of other bears who are being killed in this hunt and across the country? Bears are incredibly smart. They're smarter than dogs, I would guess, because a mother bear raises her cubs for 18 months. That's a long time, because there's so much she has to teach them. They have to know how to make a living in the wilderness for themselves. Imagine if you knew everything a bear knows about the wilderness. You could survive out there and feed yourself. But it takes a long time to teach. So I think they have incredible amounts of memory and brain power. and they also have emotions. They're not like human emotions. But that doesn't mean they don't have emotions, and they don't have a dignity and a right to live. I've known people who write off animals as having lower intelligence and lower emotional capacity, but more and more I think human beings are beginning to develop compassion for animals. And it's my hope that the next great step we take as a species is, just as we're finally learning that among ourselves, it doesn't matter if someone has a different amount of melanin or a different facial structure. They're human and we can extend compassion to them. We can put ourselves in their place, imagine what it's like to be them. And we can do the same thing with animals. I'm a vegetarian because I can imagine, what if it were me in that factory farm with torture constantly and despair and misery and a violent death? I can go there. And I guarantee you, if you can really go there and put yourself in the place of a pig or a cow or a chicken, anybody raised in a factory farm, the horror is so great that you would not feel the same about the little styrofoam trays. To me, petals is an emblem of all animal dignity, and that we need to change the way we think about animals. My hearts go out to the good people in New Jersey who are protesting this barbaric hunt, and I hope that it comes to an end soon. I've made this little collage of images of petals and some of my thoughts about him. I said it to Bach played on horns because we tend to associate tubas with bears in their kind of comic pajama-like self, but there's also, I think, a noble beauty in them, and I think that the other horns capture that. So, petals, I loved you.